Captain Daesung stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, staring at the readings that made no sense. The barrier was flickering. For 200 years, the energy wall had surrounded Earth's solar system like an invisible prison, and now it was dying. "Captain, you need to see this," Jiwon called from the engineering station. The young engineer's hands moved quickly across the holographic display. "The quantum signature is degrading. At this rate, the barrier will fail within weeks." Daesung walked over and studied the numbers. His heart beat faster. Every human alive had grown up inside this cage. The Galactic Council had built it long ago, trapping humanity inside their own star system. No one could leave. No messages could pass through. Earth was alone. Dr. Hana entered the bridge, her tablet showing intercepted alien signals. She had spent years trying to decode the Council's language. I translated more of their transmissions. "They call us the volatile species. They think we're dangerous." "Dangerous?" Daesung shook his head. "They locked us in here before we could even say hello." "They watched us from far away," Hana explained. "They saw our wars, the big ones from centuries ago. They saw humans killing other humans and they got scared. So they built this barrier to protect themselves from us." Jiwon looked up from his console. "But we're not like that anymore. We stopped fighting each other, we united. We've been peaceful for generations." "They don't know that," Hana said quietly. "They never gave us a chance to explain." Back on Earth, Admiral Taemin sat in the Unified Space Command headquarters, reviewing the same data. The holographic display showed the barrier's weak points glowing red across the solar system. His military advisors surrounded the table, all talking at once about defense strategies and weapons deployment. "Silence," Taemin commanded. The room went quiet. "If this barrier falls, the Council will assume we're breaking out. They'll think we're attacking. Then we should prepare for war," one general said. "No." The voice came from the doorway. Mina, the civilian representative, walked into the room uninvited. "We prepare for peace. We show them we're not the monsters they think we are." Taemin respected Mina even when they disagreed. "And if they attack first? Then we defend ourselves, but we don't start this fight." Mina placed her hands on the table. "Humanity spent centuries learning to be better. We can't throw that away now." On the horizon's edge, alarms suddenly blared across the bridge. "Contact!" the sensor officer shouted. Multiple ships approaching the barrier from outside. Daesung's screen filled with dozens of alien vessels. They were large, heavily armed, and positioning themselves in attack formation. The Council fleet had arrived. A holographic image appeared in the center of the bridge. It showed a being made of what looked like living crystal, its form shifting colors as it spoke. The universal translator converted the alien sounds into human language. "I am Thelrayon, ambassador of the Galactic Council. We have detected critical failure in the containment barrier surrounding your system. This message serves as official warning. Any attempt to breach the barrier will be considered an act of war. Any human vessel that exits your designated zone will be destroyed." "This is not negotiable." The hologram vanished before anyone could respond. "Friendly bunch," Jiwon muttered. Daesung stared at the spot where the ambassador had been. "Open a channel. All frequencies." "Captain, they won't receive it through the barrier," the communications officer said. "Do it anyway." The officer nodded and opened the channel. Daesung took a breath and spoke clearly. "This is Captain Daesung of Earth's deep space vessel Horizon's Edge. We received your message. We are not trying to break your barrier. We are not your enemy. We only want to talk. We are not the same species you observed centuries ago. Please give us a chance to prove it." Static answered him. The barrier blocked everything. Young Sik, the second in command, stepped beside Daesung. "They can't hear us through that wall, and they don't want to listen anyway. Then we find another way." Daesung turned to his crew. "Jiwon, can you analyze the barrier's decay pattern? Find out exactly when and where it will fail first." "Already on it, Captain." Dr. Hana pulled up historical records on her tablet. "I've been studying everything we know about the Council. They're a confederation of 47 species. Most of them evolved on peaceful worlds. They never had world wars like we did. When they found each other in space, they just started cooperating naturally. So they don't understand violence," Young Sik said. "They understand it exists. They've seen it in nature, in predators and prey, but intelligent species destroying themselves? That's alien to them. When they saw our history with millions dying in wars, they couldn't process it. They thought we were like a plague that would spread across the galaxy. Daesung felt tired suddenly. We judge ourselves by our intentions. They judge us by our actions, or at least our past actions. Sir, the censor officer called out. The Council fleet is growing. I count 70 ships now. They're setting up a full blockade around our system. On Earth, protests erupted in every major city. Mina led peaceful demonstrations in the streets, holding signs that read, "We choose peace and let us prove ourselves." Millions of humans gathered, not in anger but in unity. Admiral Taman watched the news feeds from his office. His communication panel blinked with an incoming message from Daesung. "Admiral, we have an idea," Daesung said. "The barrier is failing whether we want it to or not. We can't stop it, but we can control the message. We can show the Council who we really are before they make their decision." "How?" "We gather every piece of evidence that shows human progress. Our art, our cooperation, our peaceful achievements. We compress it all into data packets and we shoot it through every weak point in that barrier. We flood them with the truth about modern humanity." Tamian considered this. It was risky. It required hope. But it was better than waiting for war. "Do it," he ordered. "But prepare our defensive fleet anyway. Hope for peace, but prepare for war." Across the solar system, humans began compiling their message to the stars. Musicians recorded songs of unity. Artists created images of cooperation. Scientists showed their discoveries that helped people instead of harming them. Children drew pictures of the future they wanted to see. Jiwan worked day and night on the technology to push the data through the barrier. "I think I can do it," he told Daesung. "When the barrier flickers, there's a microsecond window. We can squeeze compressed data through. It won't be much, but it's something." "Then we do it," Daesung said. Outside the solar system, the Council fleet waited like sharks circling prey. Their weapons were charged. Their shields were active. They expected monsters to emerge from Earth's cage. They had no idea that those monsters had learned to be human. The barrier failed in Sector 7 at 0300 hours. No warning, no gradual decline. One moment it was there, weakened but holding. The next moment a hole opened in space large enough to fly a ship through. 3 human scout vessels were patrolling nearby when it happened. Their names were Wanderer, Swift Hope, and Morning Light. Captain Sung-ho commanded the Wanderer and he was the first to realize what had occurred. "All ships, full stop," he ordered over the channel. But momentum carried them forward. The 3 small vessels drifted through the gap before they could break completely. The hole sealed behind them. They were outside. For the first time in 2 centuries, human ships floated in unrestricted space. "Status report," Sung-ho said, keeping his voice calm even though his hands shook. "We're past the barrier, Captain," his pilot said. "We're in Council space." Hyun, the medical officer, checked her sensors. "No damage to the ship. Crew is okay. But sir, we have company." 12 Council warships surrounded them instantly. They must have been waiting, knowing the barrier would fail. Their weapons locked onto the human vessels. Sung-ho made the most important decision of his life. "Power down all weapons. Kill the targeting systems. Broadcast on all frequencies that we mean no harm. We are not here to fight." "Captain, they could destroy us," his weapons officer protested. "They can destroy us either way. At least this way we die proving we're not what they think we are." Sung-ho opened the communication channel himself. "This is Captain Sung-ho of Earth Vessel Wanderer. We crossed the barrier by accident. We are powering down all weapons. We do not want conflict. Repeat, we do not want conflict." Silence answered him. Back inside the solar system, chaos erupted. The Horizon's Edge detected the breach immediately. "Get me Admiral Taman," Daesung ordered. "Now." The Admiral's face appeared on screen, already in full military uniform. "I know, Captain. 3 of our ships are outside. The Council has them surrounded. We need to respond carefully," Daesung said. "If we send warships, the Council will think we're attacking. And if we do nothing, those crews die." Taman's jaw clenched. "I'm launching the defensive fleet." "Admiral, wait, the channel closed." Taman had made his choice. Dr. Hana grabbed Daesung's arm. "If our military launches, this becomes a war. Everything we've tried to build, all our messages of peace, it all means nothing if we show up with guns. Those are our people out there," Youngsik said. "We can't abandon them." Jiwon looked up from his console. "The data packets are ready. All of humanity's peaceful achievements, compressed and prepared for transmission. But if ships start shooting, no one will care about our art and music." Daesung felt the weight of impossible choices. Save 3 ships and start a war, or let them die and maintain the illusion of peace. Mina's face appeared on every screen across Earth simultaneously. She had hijacked the broadcast systems. Behind her, millions of protesters filled the streets. "I am speaking to Admiral Taemin," she said. Her voice was not angry, just determined. "I am speaking to every soldier preparing to launch. I know you want to save our people. I want that too. But if we launch an attack fleet, we prove the Council right. We prove that humans solve problems with violence." Those 3 crews knew the risks. They would not want their deaths to start a war. On his flagship, Taemin watched the broadcast. His hand hovered over the launch command. Around him, his officers waited. "Sir, the fleet is ready," his tactical officer said. Taemin thought about his long career. Every simulation, every war game, every strategy had the same answer: protect your people with force. But maybe this time was different. Maybe this time strength meant something else. "Stand down," he ordered quietly. "Sir, stand down. We hold position. We do not launch." He looked at his crew. "Send a message to the Council fleet. Tell them we are not attacking. Tell them those ships were caught in an accident. Tell them we are requesting their safe return." Outside the barrier, Sung-ho and his crews waited to die. The Council ships held position around them, weapons charged but not firing. Then something unexpected happened. One of the Council ships moved closer. It was smaller than the others, painted in colors that reminded Sung-ho of sunset. A voice came through the translator. "Human vessel Wanderer, this is Observer Myth Era of the Galactic Council. Why have you not activated your weapons?" Sung-ho blinked. They were asking him a question, not shooting. Asking. "Observer Mithara, we have no intention to fight. We are explorers, not soldiers. Yes, our ships have weapons. We built them because we didn't know what was out here beyond the barrier, but we do not want to use them. You are surrounded. You are outnumbered. Your species is known for violence, yet you power down your weapons. This does not match our data on human behavior. Your data is 200 years old," Sung-ho said. "We've changed. We grew up. We learned from our mistakes." A long pause followed. Then Mithara spoke again. "I am recording this interaction. The Council will want to analyze it." Hyun activated her communication panel. "Observer Mithara, one of my crew members is injured. Not from your ships, from the barrier crossing. The energy discharge caused some electrical burns. May I treat him? I want you to see what humans do. We help each other. Even in danger, even when we're scared, we take care of our own." "Proceed," Mithara said. Hyun opened the medical bay to visual monitoring, letting the Council ships watch as she carefully treated the burned crew member. She worked with gentle efficiency, talking softly to keep the young man calm. The Council observed in silence. On the horizon's edge, Ji-won jumped from his seat. "Captain!" "The barrier is flickering again. Multiple weak points forming. I can push our data through now." "Do it," Daesung ordered. "Send everything." Compressed packets of information shot through the dying barrier like bullets. They spread across Council space, broadcasting on every frequency. Images of human cities where different cultures lived together. Music that made people cry with its beauty. Scientific discoveries that cured diseases. Children playing together regardless of where they were born. Monuments to peace built on the sites of ancient battlefields. The Council fleet received all of it. Thousands of years of human cultural evolution, condensed into a desperate plea. Look at us now, not at who we used to be. Councillor Vreth commanded the blockade fleet from his massive warship. He was old by Council standards, and he had voted to build the barrier 2 centuries ago. He watched the data packets flooding his systems with suspicion. This could be propaganda, he told his officers. Deception is a human trait. We cannot trust this. But Mithara, watching the human medical officer tend to her wounded crew member with such care, began to wonder. She accessed the historical archives, comparing the images of human warfare from the past with the cultural data arriving now. The difference was striking. The humans in old records were angry, scared, fighting over resources and ideas. The humans now seemed calm, cooperative, and creative. 2 centuries was not long by Council standards. Could a species really change that much? She broadcast her findings to the Council High Command. I recommend observation before action. These humans behave differently than predicted. Vreth rejected her immediately. They are performing for us. When the barrier falls completely, They will show their true nature. We must strike first. Back inside the solar system, Admiral Taymin received a transmission from young Sik on the horizon's edge. Admiral, I've been analyzing the Council fleet formation. They're not positioned for an attack. They're positioned for defense. They're afraid of us, sir. They're expecting us to explode outward when the barrier falls. Taymin studied the tactical display. Young Sik was right. Every Council ship was angled to intercept an outward thrust from Earth. They were bracing for invasion, not planning one. They think we're about to attack them, he said slowly. This whole time we've been afraid of each other. He opened a channel to Daesung. Captain, is there any way to communicate directly with that observer, Mithara? She's the only one who seems willing to listen. Before Daesung could answer, the barrier flickered again. This time, a clear communication channel opened for exactly 3 seconds. Sung Ho's voice came through from outside. Command, this is Wanderer. We're alive. Council observer is asking us questions. I think some of them want to understand. But the military commander, Vreth, he wants to attack. The barrier is failing faster now. When it goes down completely, this fleet will make their move. We need more time to change their minds. The channel closed. Daesung looked at his crew. They had days at most. Maybe hours. The galaxy was about to decide if humanity would live or die. Sung Ho floated in his captain's chair, watching the Council ships through the viewports. For 6 hours now, they had maintained their standoff, neither side attacking, neither side retreating, just waiting. His communication panel chimed. Observer Mithara again. Captain Sung Ho, I wish to speak with you directly, not ship to ship. I want to see you. Will you accept a visual channel? Sung Ho glanced at Hyun, who nodded encouragement. Yes, observer. I will. The screen shifted and Sung Ho saw an alien for the first time in his life. Mithara looked like a tall, thin creature covered in what seemed like feathers, but they moved independently like tentacles. Her eyes were large and dark, impossibly deep. She tilted her head in a way that reminded Sung Ho of a bird. You look different than our records show, Mithara said. Less aggressive in your posture. I'm sitting in a chair, Sung Ho said with a small smile. Pretty hard to look aggressive when you're just sitting. You make a joke. In this situation, you are surrounded by ships that could destroy you, yet you make humor. Humor helps us deal with fear. It's how we stay calm. Mithara's feathers rippled in a pattern Sung Ho couldn't interpret. Your species confuses me. Our data says you are warriors, killers. But I watch your medical officer treat her crew with such gentleness. I hear you laugh when you should be terrified. I see you with weapons powered down when logic says you should fight for survival. Which is the real human? Sung Ho thought carefully before answering. Both. We can be violent. We have that capacity. But we can also choose not to be. That's what makes us human. We have the ability to decide who we want to be. Your history suggests you choose violence. Our old history, yes. We fought each other for thousands of years. Over land, over resources, over ideas and religions. We nearly destroyed ourselves. But that's the key word, observer. Nearly. We stopped. We looked at what we were doing and we said no. We decided to be better. Mithara was quiet for a long moment. The Council does not believe species can change their fundamental nature. Then the Council is wrong. Inside the solar system, Dr. Hana worked frantically in her lab on the horizon's edge. She had been studying Council psychology from their intercepted communications, and she had made a breakthrough. Captain, you need to hear this, she called to Daesung. He came to her lab immediately. Dr. Kyung-soo, the communication psychologist, was with her. Together they presented their findings. The Council species are fundamentally different from us, Kyung-soo explained. Most of them evolved on worlds without major predators. They developed intelligence through cooperation, not competition. When they met each other in space, they formed the Council naturally because working together was already their instinct. So they don't understand conflict, Daesung said. It's worse than that, Hana continued. They understand that conflict exists. They've studied it academically, but they can't imagine intelligence choosing violence. To them, an aggressive species is like a disease. Something broken that can't be fixed. When they saw our world wars, our genocides, our capacity for cruelty, they classified us as a failed species, a danger that needed to be contained. But we're not like that anymore. We know that. But they operate on a principle of permanent classification. Once a species is categorized, that label doesn't change. They've never encountered a species that fundamentally altered its own nature through choice and effort. Dae-sung felt a chill. So no matter what we do, they'll always see us as violent. Unless we can show them that change is possible, Kyung-soo said. We need to make them understand the concept of redemption, of growth. These are alien ideas to them, but not impossible ones. Ji-won rushed into the lab. Captain, I'm picking up a transmission from outside the barrier. It's spreading through council networks. I think it's Mithara. They crowded around the monitor. The observer was indeed broadcasting, and her message was reaching other council ships and stations. I have observed the human vessels for extended time, Mithara said in her report. Their behavior does not match predictions. They demonstrate restraint, cooperation, and emotional complexity. The medical officer refers to her patients as family, though they share no genetic relation. The captain makes decisions based on minimizing harm rather than maximizing advantage. I request additional time for study before military action is authorized. She's trying to buy us time, Young-sik said. But will it work? The answer came quickly. Councillor Vreth's response broadcast on all channels, meant for the entire council to hear. Observer Mithara's report is noted and dismissed. Humans are performing behavior they believe we wish to see. This is manipulation, not genuine change. When the barrier fails, they will reveal their true nature. The military fleet is authorized to use force if any additional human vessels cross the boundary. This council will not risk galactic safety on optimistic speculation. On Earth, Mina read the intercepted transmission and felt her heart sink. She stood before the crowds that had gathered in every city, millions of people who wanted peace but feared they would get war. They won't listen to words, she told them. They won't trust our messages. They need to see action. Real undeniable proof that we've changed. What kind of proof? Someone shouted from the crowd. Mina thought about it. What could humanity do that would speak louder than any message? Then she had it. She contacted Admiral Taemin directly. Admiral, I need you to do something that will sound crazy. I'm listening. Order the entire defensive fleet to power down their weapons. All of them. Every ship. Make them defenseless. Taemin stared at her through the video feed. That would leave Earth completely unprotected. Exactly. The Council thinks we're going to attack when the barrier falls. Show them we're not. Show them we're willing to be vulnerable. That's the only proof they'll believe. And if they attack anyway, if Vreth decides to strike first, then we die. But at least we die as who we really are, not who they think we are. Taemin closed his eyes. Every instinct, every bit of training, every strategic principle screamed against this idea. You never left yourself defenseless, never. But Mina was right. Words wouldn't convince the Council. Only actions would. He opened a channel to the entire Earth defense fleet. Hundreds of ships, thousands of crew members, all waiting for his orders. This is Admiral Taemin. I am ordering all ships to power down weapon systems. Deactivate targeting arrays. Lower shields to minimal. Show the Council we are not a threat. The channel exploded with protests. Captains and commanders all arguing, all saying the same thing. This was suicide. I know what I'm asking, Taemin said quietly. I know the risk. But we have spent 200 years proving to ourselves that we're better than we used to be. Now we have to prove it to the galaxy. If we show up with guns blazing, we prove Vreth right. We prove that humans only understand violence. I won't let that be our legacy. Power down. That's an order. One by one, reluctantly, the fleet complied. Hundreds of warships went dark, their weapons offline, their shields minimal. They hung in space like targets, defenseless. The Council fleet detected it immediately. Confusion spread through their ranks. The human fleet is powering down, one officer reported to Vreth. All of them, they're making themselves vulnerable. Vreth studied his screens with suspicion. It's a trick. It must be a trick. But Mithara, watching the same data, felt something shift in her understanding. No species would leave themselves defenseless as a trick. The risk is too great. This is genuine. They are showing trust. Councillor Pralis, the head of historical archives, joined the conversation from Council headquarters. She had spent the last hours reviewing Earth's transmitted data. I have been studying the human cultural information they sent us. Their art, their literature, their philosophy. There is a concept that appears repeatedly. They call it redemption. The idea that a person or a species can recognize their failures and choose to become better. This concept appears in nearly every human culture across their entire planet. Philosophy is not evidence, Vreth argued. But action is, Pralis countered. And right now, They are acting in a way that contradicts our predictions. Perhaps we need to reconsider our classification. Back on the Wanderer, Sung-Ho received a message from Earth Command about the fleet standing down. He looked at his crew and made a decision. Observer Mythara, can you see what's happening inside the solar system? Can you see that our entire defensive fleet has powered down their weapons? We can see it, Mythara confirmed. Then you see the truth. We are not preparing to attack. We never were. We just want a chance to live, to be part of the galaxy, to show you who we really are now, not who we used to be. Hyun activated her medical scanner and held it up to the screen. Look at this data, Observer. These are the readings from my crew member I treated. You can see his stress levels, his fear response, but you can also see something else. Look at his brain activity when I was helping him. That's trust. That's what humans do. We take care of each other even when we're afraid. Mythara studied the data in silence. Around the human ships, the Council fleet held position, waiting for orders that would decide the fate of an entire species. The Council chamber was ancient, built from materials that existed before most species discovered fire. 47 representatives gathered in holographic form, their images flickering as they appeared from across the galaxy. They had come to decide humanity's fate. Counselor Praelis accessed the historical archives, pulling up records that hadn't been reviewed in decades. She found something that made her pause. 2 other species had been quarantined in the past. Not for as long as humanity, but quarantined nonetheless. She presented her findings to the Council. The Veltar were contained for 30 years after we observed them hunting their own kind for sport. The Kresh were isolated for 50 years after we witnessed their colonial wars. Both species are now peaceful members of this council. We judged them by their past and were proven wrong by their future. Those were different situations, Vreth argued. The Veltar and Kresh had small-scale conflicts. Nothing like human world wars. Humans killed millions of their own kind. The scale is incomparable. But the principle is the same, Praelis insisted. We assumed permanent nature based on temporary behavior. On the horizon's edge, Captain Dae-sung received an unexpected transmission. It was a direct communication request from a council vessel. Not Mythara this time, someone else. This is Captain Realmoth of the Council Defense Fleet, the voice said through the translator. I command one of the ships surrounding your scout vessels. I wish to speak with your Captain Sung-Ho directly. Can you arrange this? Dae-sung quickly set up a 3-way channel, connecting himself, Sung-Ho, and Realmoth. The council captain appeared on screen. He was massive, easily 3 times the size of a human, with thick armor-like skin and eyes that glowed faintly orange. He looked like something that could tear a person apart without effort. Captain Sung-Ho, I have been ordered to destroy your vessel if you make any aggressive move, Realmoth said. His voice was deep, rumbling. But I find myself confused. You have been surrounded for hours. You have weapons. Yet you do not use them. Why? Sung-Ho met the alien's glowing eyes. Because using them would accomplish nothing except death. You outgun us. You outnumber us. Fighting would be pointless. Yet your history shows humans often fight when victory is impossible. You have words for it. L'assistance. Heroic defeats. Going down fighting. These are human concepts. Those are old concepts, Sung-Ho said. Yes, we used to think dying in battle was honorable. But we learned something better. Living in peace is more honorable than dying in war. Realmoth's eyes brightened slightly, a sign Dae-sung couldn't interpret. You confuse me. Our psychological profiles say humans are unpredictable, aggressive, territorial. They say you value individual glory over collective survival. Yet I watch you protect your crew. I see you make choices based on their safety, not your reputation. We're not perfect, Sung-Ho admitted. We still have aggressive instincts. We still have the capacity for violence. But having that capacity and choosing to use it are different things. That's what 200 years of peace taught us. We can be better than our worst instincts. Back on Earth, Corporal Jae-hee sat with her unit in their barracks, waiting like everyone else to learn if they would live or die. She was young, barely 25, and she had never known anything but peace. The concept of actual war was academic to her, something from history books. One of her fellow soldiers was crying quietly. Jae-hee put an arm around him. I'm scared, he admitted. What if they attack? What if all this peace was for nothing? Jae-hee thought about her grandmother's stories. The old woman had lived through the last conflicts before unification. She remembered what violence looked like, felt like. She had spent her life teaching Jae-hee one lesson. Redemption is possible, but only through choice. Tell me a story, another soldier said. Something to take our minds off this, so Jae-hee talked. She talked about her family, about how her great-grandfather had fought in one of the final wars, how he had killed people and been consumed by guilt, how he had spent the rest of his life working for peace, teaching children about the horrors of conflict so they would never repeat his mistakes. He used to say that being able to change is humanity's greatest strength, Jae-hee said. Not our technology or our weapons. Our ability to look at ourselves and decide to be different. That's what makes us special. She didn't know it, but her words were being picked up by sensors. The Council had placed monitoring equipment all over Earth's communication networks, listening to everything. Her simple story about redemption and choice was transmitted directly to the Council chamber. Dr. Kyung-soo, the communication psychologist, had been working with linguists to understand Council emotional responses. He made a breakthrough while analyzing Mithara's reports. He contacted Dae-sung immediately. Captain, I figured it out. The Council isn't just afraid of what we might do. They're afraid of what it means if we changed. Explain. Think about it. Their entire civilization is built on the idea that species have fixed natures. Cooperative species join the Council. Aggressive species get contained or eliminated. It's simple, predictable, safe. But if we actually changed our fundamental nature through choice and effort, that breaks their entire worldview. It means species aren't fixed. It means nature isn't permanent. That's terrifying to them. So we're not just fighting for our survival, Dae-sung said slowly. We're challenging their entire understanding of how the universe works. Exactly. And that makes us even more dangerous in their eyes, not because we might attack them, but because we represent chaos in their ordered system. Young-sik had been working on something in secret. He had established back-channel communications with moderate council military officers, ones who seemed uncertain about Vreth's aggressive stance. Now he brought his findings to the captain. Sir, I've been talking with council officers who disagree with their commander. They're not a majority, but they exist. They're tired of living in fear. They want to believe change is possible. But they need proof. Real undeniable proof. We've given them proof, Dae-sung said. We powered down our weapons. We sent them our cultural achievements. What more can we do? Ji-won jumped up from his station. I have an idea. A crazy idea, but it might work. He explained his concept. The barrier technology was failing anyway. But instead of just letting it collapse, they could help the council repurpose it. Transform it from a prison wall into a shared defensive network that would protect both humans and council species from actual threats that existed in the galaxy. We'd be offering to work with them, Ji-won said, not against them. Showing that we want to contribute to galactic safety, not threaten it. Dae-sung considered this. It was risky. It required the council to trust humanity with advanced technology. But it was also the ultimate proof of peaceful intentions. He sent the proposal through every channel he had, straight to the council chamber. Outside the barrier, Sung-ho and his crew experienced something unexpected. One of Rilmoth's ships had been caught in an energy discharge when the barrier flickered. The council vessel was damaged, drifting, life support failing. Sung-ho didn't hesitate. Hyun, prepare for emergency rescue. Pilot, take us alongside that ship. Captain, they're the enemy, his weapons officer protested. No, they're people who need help. That's all that matters. The Wanderer moved close to the damaged council vessel. Hyun and her medical team suited up and crossed over, offering aid to the alien crew. The council soldiers were shocked. They had expected attack, not assistance. Why do you help us? One alien asked through the translator, his crystalline body flickering weakly. Because you need help, Hyun said simply. That's what we do. That's who we are. The rescue was broadcast across all channels. Council ships watched in real time as human medical officers worked to save alien lives, asking nothing in return. In the council chamber, even Vreth fell silent. Admiral Taemin and Counselor Vreth finally communicated directly. Two military leaders, both trying to protect their people, both afraid of making the wrong choice. Why did your people help my damaged ship? Vreth asked. You could have let them die. It would have weakened my fleet. We don't measure strength by how many enemies we can kill, Taemin said. We measure it by how many lives we can save. That includes your lives. I do not understand your species. Then let us show you. Let us prove that we're not the monsters you fear. We're just people trying to survive, same as you. Vreth looked at the data scrolling across his screens. The human fleet still powered down, the rescue operation still ongoing, the cultural transmissions still broadcasting messages of peace, and Jiwan's proposal for a shared defensive network displayed before the entire council. For the first time in 2 centuries, the council's certainty about humanity began to crack. Mithera sent her final report. I have observed humans under extreme stress. In every instance, they chose cooperation over conflict. They chose to help rather than harm. Their actions are consistent with their claims of change. I recommend immediate diplomatic contact rather than military action. The vote was called. 47 species would decide if humanity deserved a chance or deserved destruction. The barrier had hours left, maybe less. Soon there would be no wall between humans and the galaxy. What happened next would shape the future of both. The barrier was dying in beautiful colors. Waves of energy rippled across its surface, blues and purples and greens mixing together like oil on water. Everyone who could see it stopped to watch. Both humans and aliens understood they were witnessing a historic moment. Inside the council chamber, the vote hung in balance. 23 species had voted to give humanity a chance. 20 had voted to maintain containment or use force if necessary. 4 species remained undecided. Mithera made an unusual request. I wish to visit Earth before the final vote. I wish to see humans in their natural environment, not just in crisis situations. Give me 48 hours, Councillor Vreth objected immediately. That is a security risk. We cannot send observers into a potentially hostile environment. I volunteer to go alone, Mithara said. If humans are as dangerous as we believe, then I will die and you will have your proof. But if they are what they claim to be, we need to know before we make an irreversible decision. Praelis supported the motion. We based our containment on observations made 200 years ago. If we are to judge them, let it be on current evidence, not ancient fears. The council agreed. Mithara would have 48 hours on Earth. The barrier would hold that long, barely. What she found would determine humanity's fate. The observer's ship approached Earth slowly, broadcasting peaceful intentions on all frequencies. Admiral Taman personally authorized her passage through the defensive grid. Observer Mithara, this is Earth Command. You are cleared to land. We have prepared a delegation to meet you. I do not want a delegation, Mithara responded. I want to see normal life. Regular humans, not performances or presentations. Just truth. Mina smiled when she heard that. I like her already. Send her to the city square. Let her walk among regular people. The observer's small craft landed in the center of a major city. When Mithara emerged, thousands of humans had gathered, but not in military formation or formal ceremony. They were just curious. They had never seen an alien before. Children pointed at her feathers. Adults whispered questions, but no one ran. No one showed aggression. They just watched with fascination. A little girl approached, maybe 7 years old, holding a drawing. I made this for you, she said, offering the paper. It showed a crude picture of a human and an alien holding hands under a sun. My teacher said you might be scared of us, but we're nice. I promise. Mithara took the drawing with her flexible feathers. Something strange happened in her chest, an emotion she didn't have words for. She had studied humans as subjects, as potential threats, but this child saw her as just another person who might be lonely or scared. Mina approached carefully. Observer Mithara, I'm Mina. I'm nobody important, just a person who talks too much and wants peace. Can I show you around? Please. They walked through the city together. Mithara saw humans of every color, every type, all living together. She saw them helping elderly people cross streets. She saw them share food with those who had none. She saw them stop to listen to street musicians and laugh at entertainers. Your historical data showed humans separating by race, by religion, by nation, Mithara said, but I see diversity without division. We learned that lesson the hard way, Mina explained. We spent centuries fighting over differences. Millions died because someone looked different or believed different things. Eventually, we realized that diversity isn't weakness, it's strength. Our differences make us better, not worse. They visited a hospital where Dr. Kyung-soo was working. He showed Mithara medical advances humans had made. We used to develop weapons, he said. Now we develop cures. We used to study how to kill more efficiently. Now we study how to save more lives. But you still have weapons, Mithara observed. Your ships carry arms. We do, Kyung-soo admitted. Because we're not naive. We know the universe can be dangerous, but having weapons and wanting to use them are different things. We keep them for defense, not conquest. Myth-Ara visited schools where children learned not just mathematics and science, but ethics and empathy. She saw them studying Earth's violent history not with pride, but with horror and determination never to repeat it. One teacher explained their curriculum. We don't hide our past from children. We teach them exactly what we did wrong and why. We show them the cost of violence so they understand why we choose peace. At a memorial built on the site of an ancient battlefield, Myth-Ara saw thousands of names carved in stone. The memorial didn't glorify war. It mourned it. Every name here is someone who died in conflict, Mina said quietly. We built this to remember what we lost. Not to celebrate warriors, but to honor victims. This is what war costs. We never want to forget that. Myth-Ara's feathers rippled with emotion. The Council has no memorials like this. We have monuments to cooperation, to scientific achievement, but we have never had to mourn the cost of our own violence. That's why you don't understand us, Mina said gently. You never had to change because you never had to confront what you could become. We did. We looked into the darkness inside ourselves and we chose to walk toward light instead. That choice, that ability to change, that's what makes us human. On the horizon's edge, Daesung received updates about the barrier's collapse. It was accelerating. They had maybe 30 hours left, not 48. Get me Observer Myth-Ara, he ordered. When her face appeared on screen, she looked different. Her feathers were arranged in a pattern that Daesung's translator software identified as indicating deep thought. Observer, the barrier is failing faster than predicted. You need to make your report soon. I am not finished with my observations. You may not have time to finish. Then I will report what I have learned so far. She looked directly at the camera. Captain Daesung, I was wrong. We were all wrong. You are not the species we thought you were. Back in the council chamber, Myth-Ara's live report broadcast to all 47 species. She showed them everything she had witnessed. The children's drawings, the hospital saving lives, the memorial mourning war, the diversity living in harmony. I have seen a species that acknowledges its capacity for violence but chooses peace, she said. A species that remembers its mistakes and teaches its children to be better. A species that helps even those who threaten them, as they helped our damaged vessel. The humans are not what we feared. They are what we hoped was impossible. A species that changed its own nature through deliberate choice. Counselor Vreth watched the broadcast in silence. Everything he believed was being challenged. Species didn't change. Nature was fixed. That was the foundation of Council civilization. But the evidence was undeniable. Admiral Taemin received a direct communication from Vreth. The Council military commander looked tired. Admiral Taemin, I have spent 2 centuries believing humanity was a threat, Vreth said. I voted to build your cage. I believed I was protecting the galaxy. Now I wonder if I was just protecting my own fear. We're all afraid of what we don't understand, Taemin replied. The question is whether we let fear control us or whether we choose to learn. Your fleet is still powered down, defenseless. Why have you not reactivated weapons as a precaution? Because trust has to start somewhere. We're showing you that we mean what we say. We want peace, not war. Vreth made a decision. He ordered his fleet to lower their weapons to minimal standby mode. Not fully powered down like the human fleet, but no longer in active targeting mode. It was a gesture of reciprocal trust. The final 4 species cast their votes. When the count was complete, 30 species had voted to give humanity a chance. 17 still wanted containment, but 30 was enough. Counselor Praelis delivered the verdict. The Galactic Council hereby recognizes that humanity has demonstrated sufficient evolution to warrant diplomatic contact. The quarantine is officially ended. Humans are invited to join the Council as probationary members. You will have observers monitoring your activities, and full membership will be determined after a trial period of 10 years. But you are no longer prisoners. You are no longer alone. On Earth, the news spread instantly. Cities erupted in celebration. People cried with relief and joy. 200 years of isolation were ending. Humanity would finally join the galaxy. But the work was just beginning. Jiwan's proposal for a shared defensive network moved forward. Human engineers worked alongside Council technicians to transform barrier technology into something new. Not a wall to keep humans in, but a shield to protect everyone from genuine threats that existed in deep space. Captain Daesung's Horizon's Edge became humanity's first official diplomatic vessel. His crew trained as ambassadors, learning council languages and customs. Young Sik became chief liaison for military cooperation. Dr. Hana led scientific exchange programs. Sung Ho and his crew were finally allowed to return home. But before they left council space, Captain Rilmoth requested a meeting in person. The two captains stood face to face for the first time. Rilmoth towered over Sung Ho, but the human didn't flinch. "You could have let my crew die," Rilmoth said. "We were your enemy. But you saved them anyway." "You were never our enemy," Sung Ho replied. "You were just afraid, so were we. Fear makes everyone do things they regret." "I will tell this story to my children," Rilmoth said. "About the day humans taught me that strength isn't about weapons. It's about choosing not to